All right. Enough of the mushy, melodramatic stuff. So we didn't get Quicksilver from the X-Men on WandaVision. We got a guy named Ralph Boner. That's fine. That's fine. Honestly, I'm good with that. It probably would have asked far more questions that no one would have been able to answer. So, good. But it got me thinking, how are those old X-Men movies? They still doing good? They still solid? I'm sure some of them are, and I'm sure most of them are terrible. But if anything, they definitely set the standard of a comic movie. So I decided, in the spirit of WandaVision and all things mutant, I would introduce a brand new watching order for the old X-Men movies. Most of them are on Disney Plus currently. I think there's maybe like a few that are jumping around the later X-Men stuff, but for the most part, a huge chunk of the X-Men movies are on Disney Plus. So, if you recall what they were before, it was the original X-Men trilogy, followed by the Wolverine origin movies, and then after that it was the First Class movies, followed along by the Deadpool and the rest of the ones that we don't really pay attention to anymore. A lot of people like the newer X-Men movies, but have problems with them. Mainly, where are they in the timeline? It's a reboot, but there's like so much going on. Like, they hit the 90s, and apparently no one is old enough to be Patrick Stewart. So how's this gonna fit? Like, how are you gonna watch this and enjoy this properly when there's so many questions and so many lanes to go to? And for the most part, it's straightforward. If you just watch the theatrical release, you'll be fine. It'll be fine. But if you want to get a good enjoyment out of it, definitely watch in the order that I'm suggesting. So originally it began with the trilogy X-Men movies, X-Men 1, X2, and X3, The Last Stand. I would say this is a perfect beginner point to watch all three movies in order of release. Those as a trilogy is pretty solid. The last movie is a little lackluster, but it's not gonna matter here in a little bit, I guess. After that, it was Wolverine Origins, but here is where I think we're gonna go a little bit different. After you watch the original trilogy, follow it up with the two Wolverine movies, first Origins movie and the second The Wolverine, and then after that one, go to Days of Future Past. It's going to be a little bit confusing, but it's gonna make sense in the long run. You're gonna jump in there, you're gonna see people from future, from the past. You're not really gonna understand who these newish looking characters are. Why is there a young Xavier? The movie will explain it. But at the end of that movie, everything resets. Interesting. Because that means that the first Wolverine, at least, and the third X-Men movie are no longer canon because Days of Future Past erased them from history. Doesn't mean that they're not still there, they're still there. But this is a good point for you to go ahead and come back to X-Men First Class. This is the reboot series. So now you got a fresh mark on everything. Everything is rebooted, you got nothing else to really worry about. These are brand new characters and headed on a brand new timeline, so you don't have to worry about them meeting up and being Patrick Stewart. So after First Class, you go to Apocalypse and then Dark Phoenix. It's a little weird to have those sets of movies separate, but actually this makes it its own trilogy alongside the original trilogy, and Days of Future Past is kind of the breaking middle point in between, so it doesn't really count as a sequel to the newer movies, but just an in-betweequel to both. After that, highly suggest watching the TV series Legion. There's 2 seasons, wacky, crazy, psychedelic stuff that talk about Charles Xavier's son, and actually reference quite a bit of Dark Phoenix. After that, watch the 2 Deadpool movies, because at that point he references both timelines because he's aware of it.
Let us go talk to the professor.
McAvoy or Stewart? These timelines are so confusing.
I guess, I don't know, there's a note here, it says New Mutants, but whatever, you don't gotta worry about the New Mutants, because you're gonna end on the 3rd Wolverine movie, Logan. This is the point in which everyone agrees is the end of the X-Men timeline, no matter which Xavier you were following, because this is the end point, we're done. And it feels like a conclusion, epilogue to the whole X-Men experience. Watching it this way, stories feel a little bit more smoother, and you can still experience the bad movies and get that little flavor of Days of Future Past erasing the terrible movies. I personally haven't tried it, but I definitely am curious to jump in there and test it out myself. I feel like it's gonna check out pretty well, because the only issue between all these movies is Days of Future Past, because it released in a point where we got 3 original X-Men movies and this new group of X-Men, and then it's asking you to figure out how are these new X-Men going to end up as the older X-Men, and then it just goes off from there. Definitely the whole mystique, pun intended, of Raven is kind of up in the air if you watch it the way it was released. So if you watch it this way, her storyline makes a little bit more sense. One could argue that New Class Raven is a completely brand new alternate timeline Raven, and the original X-Men Raven is a whole other person. This would also give more weight to the fact that there is more multiverses out there, and there always have been in the cinematic landscape of superheroes. This would theoretically turn 1 X-Men timeline into 2 alternate timelines, which, if Marvel wanted to do something with it, they could, because it's there. Chances are they might touch on this with Deadpool, because he will be getting a 3rd movie that is actually set within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not the X-Men. So we're probably not going to get an answer for the cinematic X-Men. We will get an answer for the mutants, and it feels like maybe Falcon and the Winter Soldier might be flirting with the idea of mutants. But for sure, if you're looking for that Quicksilver fix, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna get something in the Deadpool 3 movie. Anyways, I hope you had fun listening to me ramble on about the X-Men. I swear to you, I'm not a huge X-Men fan, but I feel like, well, they're up in the air right now because of this whole Marvel thing. Yeah, you gotta show them a little bit of love, you know? So I hope that this will encourage you to go ahead and check out those old movies. They're all still great. Even the problematic ones are still great, for as bad as they are. So I hope you'll give them a watch. And I hope you enjoy this video. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more. And yeah, tell me in the comments below who your favorite X-Men is and why. Is it Hugh Jackman? Cool. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.